Mineral rights and water rights are legal entitlements tied to the ownership and use of natural resources, such as minerals beneath the land or water found on or under the land. These rights can significantly impact property value, land usage, and resource management. Mineral rights provide the legal authority to explore, extract, and profit from mineral resources located beneath the surface of a piece of land. These resources can include fossil fuels such as oil, natural gas, and coal, metals like gold, silver, iron, and copper, non-metallic minerals like gravel, sand, and salt, precious stones such as diamonds and gemstones. And when it comes to ownership and transfer, there are many different types. There's surface versus subsurface rights. Mineral rights are distinct from surface rights, which govern the use of land's surface. A property owner can sell or lease mineral rights separately from the land itself. There's also a severed estate. If mineral rights are sold or retained by a previous owner, the land is considered a severed estate. The landowner may not have control over the extraction of the minerals, even if they own the surface. Next is split estate. A split estate occurs when one entity owns the surface rights while another owns the mineral rights. This often leads to complex legal agreements to balance land use and mineral extraction. There's also different types of agreements as well. First is a lease agreement. Mineral rights are often leased to companies for exploration and extraction. The landowner typically receives a bonus payment up front and royalties from extracted resources. Next is royalty rights. Owners may retain a percentage of revenue from the minerals extracted, even if they no longer own the mineral rights. Next is easement and access rights. Companies with mineral rights may find or need to negotiate with surface owners for access to the land for mining or drilling. Here are some legal and environmental considerations. First is the regulations. Mineral extraction is heavily regulated to manage environmental impacts, ensure safety, and protect public interest. Next is surface damage. When mineral rights are exercised, surface land may be disrupted, leading to disputes or compensation requirements. Next is reclamation. Companies may be legally required to restore land after extraction activities to minimize environmental damage. Water rights govern the legal access to and use water resources, including surface water and groundwater. These rights ensure equitable allocation and management of water for various purposes, including agriculture, irrigation, municipal use, industrial process, and recreation. So there definitely are different types of water rights. First is rep rem rights. This applies to landowners with property adjacent to natural water sources. They provide reasonable use of water as long as it does not harm other riparian users. It is common in regions with abundant water resources such as the eastern United States. Now, there's another one called prior appurration rights, governed by the principle of first in time, first in right. This first individual or entity to divert water for beneficial use has priority over last users, predominantly used in arid regions like western United States. Next is groundwater rights. These vary significantly in jurisdiction. In some areas, landowners can pump groundwater freely, while others may require permits to manage aquifer depletion. Of course, there's different uses for water rights. First is agriculture use. Water is critical for irrigation, livestock, and aquaculture. Next is domestic use. Rights cover water for drinking, household needs, and sanitation. Next is industrial use. This includes power generation, manufacturing, and cooling systems. Next is recreational use. These rights can govern activities like fishing, boating, and tourism. Appertenant water rights are tied to the land and transfer with property ownership. Water rights in gross are independent of land ownership and can be sold or leased separately. Rights may be granted temporarily for seasonal irrigation or permanently as part of property ownership. Water rights are subject to local, state, and federal oversight to ensure sustainable use and prevent over-extraction. As for conservation efforts, increasing focus on water conservation due to climate change and resource scarcity, governments and organizations promote efficient irrigation methods, drought-resistant crops, and water recycling. When it comes to disputes, water rights disputes often arise between states, municipalities, and private landowners, especially in water-scarce regions. As for public trust doctrines, in some jurisdictions, water is considered a public resource and its use must serve the public interest. Here are the key differences between mineral and water rights. First is resource type. Mineral rights pertain to subsurface resources, while water rights address surface and groundwater use, as well as separation from the land. Both can be sold, leased, or retained independently, but their regulations and transfer process differ. When it comes to extraction impact, mineral extraction often has more direct, lasting impacts on the surface, requiring significant environmental oversight, while water use impacts resource availability and ecosystem health. When it comes to time frame, mineral rights often involve finite resources that deplete over time, while water rights focus on renewable but vulnerable resources requiring sustainable management. Understanding mineral and water rights is critical for property owners, farmers, developers, and investors. Property management of these rights can maximize economic benefits, ensure sustainable resources use, and prevent legal disputes. Both require careful consideration of legal frameworks, environmental impact, and community needs.